This is deadline day on Sky Sports News. Lunch cancelled for football chief executives and directors of football up and down the country as they start to feel the pressure of the 11 p.m. deadline.
Here in the heart of Sky Sports News, our team is talking to reporters across Britain and Europe, bringing you all the biggest breaking news stories that could make or break your team's season. And of course, we'll have expert reaction from the studio throughout the day.
Indeed, the shrinking violet that is Jamie O'Hara and former Arsenal and Man City defender Jen Beattie are here. Many a crunching tackle behind them. Shin pads on for me to discuss the big deals and react to the breaking news.
On that note, we do start with breaking news and we have a done deal. West Ham have signed Evan Ferguson on loan from Brighton. It is a deal we were expecting. West Ham will pay a significant loan fee and cover wages. It means a reunion for Ferguson with Graham Potter, the manager who gave him his break at Brighton as a teenager. Ferguson was Potter's top target in the window and he's got him. Ferguson will wear number 34 and has said this: seeing the stadium and being here today, I've got a very good feeling. I can see and know how big West Ham United is. It was a big opportunity for me to come here. I know the gaffer well and look forward to working under him again. I want to come in and do my best for the club, score goals and see where we get to. So, done deal, Nick.
Interesting news we're just getting about Mathys Tel, who's been of interest to Tottenham, Arsenal, Manchester United this window. Our colleagues at Sky Germany are telling us that he is on his way by plane to England. What does that mean? We'll discuss that, no doubt, through the afternoon. His agent has posted a picture of his departure. So maybe something is happening. It seems to be going quiet on the Mathys Tel front. Maybe it is not quiet after all. We will keep you in touch minute by minute as we get news of that. We have got that confirmation of the news, Jen and Jamie, of Evan Ferguson. Who wants to kick off? Jamie?
I think it's a really good signing, Nick. I think he's been out of favour at Brighton, hasn't played, hasn't featured loads this season, but he's a talented football player. You know, Graham Potter's had him before. And he wants him again. And, you know, I think it's a really good move for him. They need a striker. You know, Fulkrug at West Ham struggled with injuries. You know, we've seen Antonio obviously injured now as well. And they've really struggled to have that focal point up front. And I think for me, talented footballer, young, he's going to want to prove himself. I think it could be a really good deal.
He's played 236 minutes of football so far this season. So he feels like he needed a fresh start.
Yeah, he's also struggled with injuries. I know he made his return to play at the weekend against Forest, but I think it's hard when you're linked to really big clubs from a young age, and then it doesn't necessarily go the right way for you. Confidence is massive, and then I think if you're, you know, reunited with a manager that believes in you, that instilling that confidence, I think it's a really good move for him. You know, he's 20 years old. He's still got so much football left to be played, and hopefully that happens at West Ham.
If you look back 2 years, there was talk that he was interested in some of the really big clubs, with all due respect to Brighton and West Ham. Yes, go on. First Spurs mentioned the afternoon, there's going to be plenty more. Have you seen enough that he can get back to that kind of level?
Oh, yeah, I've definitely seen enough in terms of talent, in terms of, you know, what his attributes are as a footballer. You know, he's a young lad. He's 20, so he's still got loads of improving to do. You know, he's had injuries and he's struggled. And, then you start, as a striker, you've got to score goals week in, week out. And, you know, if you're not playing and you're in and out of the team, it becomes frustrating for you. You can lose your confidence, a bit of belief, you know, putting the ball in the back of the net. So I think I've seen enough of him in terms of him being a really good, top-quality Premier League striker. And, you know, if he can hit the ground running, get his confidence up with Graham Potter, who's going to believe in him and give him the chance, you know, that could be a top deal.
You've had times where you've been unavailable for all sorts of fitness reasons. Do you come back with feeling that your ability, not that your ability's gone, but your ability to deliver that on the pitch has gone?
No, I think it definitely changes you as a player. It depends how long you've been out, right? It can be a matter of weeks or longer-term injuries. The longer-term ones are definitely harder, but they allow you to give that time to reset and add things to your game. So, but of course, it takes a good few weeks, depending on how long you've been out, to hit the ground running and to get that sort of flow of. Always say momentum's huge in football. Week on week, playing week in, week out. That's what really drives you to get to the top of your game, and I think that's what Evan Ferguson needs probably at this point in his career.
Yeah. And for West Ham, absolutely no disrespect to Danny Ings, but I know that some West Ham fans have thought when they've seen Danny Ings come on, they think, is that all we've got? And Danny Ings has been a great, really useful striker, but it's not like he's going somewhere there's enormous competition for places. You've obviously got Antonio's still out long
he's out.
Bowen's been out.
Yeah, he's out. Fulkrug's out. So I think if he can, prove that he's fit 100% and he can rely on him and he can get through 90 minutes, I think he'll start. I don't see why he wouldn't. I think it'll be maybe the first couple of games he comes off the bench, find his feet. Hopefully he gets a couple of chances and he can put one away. You need an early tap in or something. One that comes off the backside. When you ain't played and and you get yourself and you're on the score sheet and all of a sudden you're off and running. But he knows now. Coming to the end of we're in February now, till the end of the season. He's got 4 months to really go for it and see what happens.
Good to see that you are off and running, Jamie and Jen. Thank you. Got some breaking news, guys.
We do indeed, Nick, and we were just about to go to both Arsenal and Manchester United. We had heard that update on Mathys Tel, that there had been a picture of him in a plane heading to England. We now think, Teddy, we know where he was heading.
Yeah, it's a bit vague, but now we can go to Michael Bridge, I believe, with the latest news. Come on in. Bridgie, what can you tell us?
Well, we say never on deadline day. This is absolutely incredible. My cameraman said, can you imagine Mathys Tel turning up here? And I went, can't see it. That was 7 a.m. But wow, breaking news, according to my colleague Florian Petterberg in Germany, waiting for official confirmation. But Mathys Tel has done a U-turn and has said yes to Tottenham Hotspur. Quite incredible breaking news here. Get more on that shortly. Regarding any obligations or options. There are reports that there's no options or obligations, but what we do know, and there's a picture of his agent and Tel on a plane, and it looks like it's going to London potentially. That's what we're told, and not Manchester. But stay with us throughout the day and evening on Sky Sports News. Massive breaking news. Friday in Battersea, we told you Tel said thanks, but no thanks. I'm probably going to stay in Munich. He's changed his mind. Huge news. Mathys Tel on his way to Tottenham.
We love a development like that. We love the unexpected. Jen, you just feel, as Bridgie was hinting there, you just feel that Spurs need some kind of lift as much as they need the new talent.
Yeah, they do. I think, injuries have been a big problem at Spurs this season, and they're nowhere near sitting in the Premier League where they want to be at the moment. And, they're still in contention for 3 trophies, let's be honest. So there's still huge games to be played at that club. But I think everyone was waiting to see if they were going to make a big signing, and, seeing Tel do a U-turn in the final moments is he at the Spurs training ground. It looks great for Spurs fans.
You're smiling. I've seen you so often in this seat being Mr. Grump for another bad day for Spurs. I've got a Tottenham grin out of you.
It'd be nice to have a bit of positivity. I always come on here when Spurs are playing, and we're always struggling. And it could still be a good window. Do we get a couple of players in last minute? I thought Bridgie was going to be at the Spurs training ground, freezing his towel off, nothing happening. But that's that could be a big move, and it's a big signing. You're going to spend money on him, or you're getting him on loan. He's going to add quality to the team. He's someone who potentially comes in and starts. So, look, Daniel Levy could still get it right. He's got time.
Would you like to see him come on loan just so you can sort of test the Tel water? Do we actually like this guy?
Well, look, that's always the way, isn't it? When the Premier League's a different beast. You've seen managers and players come to the Premier League and struggle. So it is a different beast. He's obviously a talented footballer, but I think if we can get him on loan with an obligation to buy in the summer if he does well, or maybe Daniel Levy's a shrewd businessman, he'll get the deal that works for Spurs, that's for sure. And look, it looks like maybe we can get it over the line, so it'll be happy days.
There's plenty of competition if people are fit, because the Spurs are not short of strikers on the books.
Yeah, no, I think Timo Werner and James Maddison, it's all small niggles, right? Nothing's long term, so they'll be back to fitness. I think Postecoglou said pretty short term, right? So, but I think everyone was still looking at this window and waiting to see if Spurs would bring in someone to kind of replace the sort of bigger injuries in that team. But
Richarlison's not good enough. He's not good enough. Richarlison, it's been a waste of money. He's not been good enough. I'm sorry. We need to look at elsewhere. For me, Son, I've said it before, he's been an unbelievable servant for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, and he's still got something to offer, but he ain't the player that he was before. You need to look at re-signing players who can come in and do a better job. Richarlison's not the answer anymore. Solanke's picked up a you know, an injury which can see him out for a bit longer. You know, so we need replacements. You do. You know, you've got Brendan Johnson's been out for a while, and the backup to them players ain't good enough. But Richarlison, you know, for me, I'll be trying to get him out the door.
What an interesting afternoon. It threatens to be, promises to be. We'll keep you in touch. So, Arsenal, Manchester United, they were both interested in Tel, but they didn't pursue a deal. Listen, as far as we know. So what incomings are going to happen at those two clubs? Let's get to Sani Radravajula at Old Trafford, and also you'll see standing by for us Gary Cottrell at the Emirates. Gary, let me start with you. Tel, we don't think going to Manchester United. Tottenham, Arsenal, what are you thinking? What are you hearing?
Well, I'm just glancing down at my phone, Nick, as I wait to hear back from the latest from Arsenal, because I've asked them whether or not the situation with them has changed after that news that Mathys Tel is on a plane heading to London. I've not heard back from them, but I'd be very surprised if it has, because we heard earlier today that although they had shown some interest in the young striker, they weren't going to pursue any deal, and I think that is still the case. I think the options weren't there for him to turn up here at the Emirates or at Old Trafford or at Stamford Bridge. Well, he's not going to turn up at the Bridge. He's going to turn up, it seems, with Michael Bridge at the Tottenham Hotspur training ground. A U-turn by the player. Arsenal never really leading the chase for him. He's not really, ideally, what they're looking for. They're looking for an out-and-out goal scorer, a 25-30 guaranteed a season man. Somebody like Ollie Watkins, who just senses where the goal is. It's his second nature. This youngster from... excuse me, this youngster that we're talking about, who is not really getting game time at Bayern Munich, isn't that. He plays on the left-hand side mainly. He can play down the middle, Mathys, but he's more likely to be playing on the left-hand side. He can play on the right as well. Versatile, strong, tall, lots of pace, and a real prospect for the future. But he was always and also in the running for Arsenal rather than the first choice. So it seems that they're not going to pursue their interest in him, and he's on his way to London, but it seems still, as I look down, not here.
Gary, let's bring in Sani Radravajula, who's at Manchester United for us. Does Ruben Amorim need to bring in a forward before the window shuts at 11?
Well, I think it's absolutely fascinating because you've got Rasmus Højlund with no goals in 13, Joshua Zirkzee, no goals in 11. Both were not starting here at Old Trafford yesterday in a 2-0 defeat to Crystal Palace. You had Kobbie Mainoo playing as a false nine, which, you know, from the outside looking in, you'd assume Ruben Amorim is kind of telling the hierarchy, well, come on, guys, I need another option here because it's not working so far. But what I've been told is they won't be rushing into any panic buys, Man United. Me, Gary and Michael have all become Mathys Tel experts because we've all had the news that he might be coming our way. But he would have been an interesting prospect. But yeah, I think Man United do actually need an option. A lot of the fans would agree with that. The ones who are having the tours around us right now at Old Trafford would certainly do so. But by the sounds of things, they are not wanting to rush into any signings now. They want to plan for the summer transfer window. Yes, they've allowed Marcus Rashford to go out on loan, which has given them a lot of wiggle room PSR-wise because his wages are being covered elsewhere, or the majority are. But again, if the striker isn't available, they're not going to go for it. So, and by the way, that's despite, as well at the other end of the pitch, Lisandro Martinez going off injured yesterday, and they may be needing an option at the back. We have got Patrick Dorgu, who's come in from Lecce. He's a wide left winger. He can play on the right as well. He's kind of a left full-back, left wing sort of player, and he's got an eye for goal. He's very strong as well, and he's a player that Ruben Amorim has been keeping an eye on and works very hard for the team, which we know Amorim really likes. And they've also brought in Aidan Heaven, who's a centre-back for Arsenal. But strikers-wise, attacking-wise, looks like there's nothing coming here at Old Trafford at the moment.
Danny, thank you. Keep an eye on your phone.
Thank you, Nick. Potential breaking news for you involving Wolves and Leicester involving a swap deal.
Yeah, Dan Khan is at Molineux for us. A hive of activity so far on this transfer deadline day. Dan, keeping you busy. What about this swap deal then? What can you tell us?
Wolves are always involved on deadline day, aren't they? But in terms of this potential swap deal, understand there have been exploratory talks, initial talks between Wolves and Leicester over what would be a sensational swap deal between the former Wolves captain Conor Coady, who's of course currently at Leicester, and Craig Dawson, the Wolves centre-back who's also played at West Brom. A potential swap between those. And we know Leicester and Wolves have been looking to bolster, especially their defensive areas in this window. Both don't have the best defensive records this season. Understand talks are very, very early at this stage, and there's a lot of work to do before tonight's deadline for such a move to happen. But if it does come off, it would be an amazing return, especially for Conor Coady to come back to Molineux, because he was not very much fancied by former boss Bruno Lage a few years ago. He didn't necessarily get a goodbye to the Wolves fans. So if it does happen and Wolves are able to add a third centre-back in this window with who we think Nasser Jiba should happen a bit later on today, it would end what would be a very good window for Wolves.
Be a fantastic story, wouldn't it, the comeback, Daniel? What can you tell us about the potential incomings as well of Marshall Munetsi and Nasser Jiga?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, both areas that Vitor Pereira has been adamant all window that he has wanted to reinforce, a centre-back and a midfielder. Marshall Munetsi, let's start with him. Looking at a fee of just around £16 million. Wolves have agreed a deal with French side Hans in principle for the midfielder. And Pereira has been very adamant this window especially that he wants to add a midfielder who can add a bit more physical quality in that area of the pitch. The likes of Andre and João Gomez all probably have a similar build, but I think Munetsi represents a different type of midfielder in that area. And then the other stands by Nasser Jiba, currently playing for Red Star Belgrade. I understand a fee in principle has been agreed, just under £10 million. He's been part of a very impressive Red Star Belgrade side who has stormed there domestically. They're currently leading the Serbian league by 19 points, but he's also featured in the Champions League. And although they've lost a few games against the likes of AC Milan and Barcelona, he's had a very good campaign on that front. And as Vitor Pereira tries to transition this side to a 3-4-2-1, they've already added one centre-back in Emmanuel Agbadou in that part of the pitch. But I think adding another centre-back with just getting Totti back from injury and giving a bit more flexibility with Matt Doherty, who is a right-back by trade, who has been playing as an emergency centre-back, really, it would just give Pereira a bit more flexibility. So it's all happening at Wolves with a lot more to be done by this afternoon to complete those deals.
It could be a busy day, Daniel. Thank you for now.
What about this for a bit of deadline day news? Bayern Munich forward Mathys Tel is flying to England as we speak to try and wrap up a move to Tottenham Hotspur. More next.
Recap the news that broke 15 minutes ago on deadline day. Bayern Munich forward Mathys Tel on his way to England ahead of a proposed move to Tottenham. Sky in Germany understands the deal is a loan with no option to buy.
Well, the breaking news just keeps reaching us here at Sky Sports News on transfer deadline day. We've now got an update for you on Manchester City, and they are moving closer to that deal for Porto midfielder Nico Gonzalez.
Yeah, nothing confirmed yet, but talks heading in a positive direction. The club are hopeful of finalising a deal before the deadline.
Yeah, personal terms not thought to be an issue. He has a release clause of 50 million. City don't want to pay that much, but what have we got left now? 8 hours, 36 minutes to try and get a deal done for a new midfielder for Pep Guardiola's struggling side. We'll keep you right up to date.
So, as you say, Jasper, not very long for those deals to be completed. Let's pick up on the theme of Mathys Tel going, it seems, to Tottenham. What about Arsenal? He wouldn't be the kind of forward that Arsenal are looking for right now, because don't they need an out-and-out striker, and that's not him.
Yeah, I think that's been the case. That I think they've a striker that gets you 20, 25 goals a season. A focal point for them has been maybe what everyone's been talking about. But look, you saw him perform yesterday against Manchester City, and you'd say, do they need anyone? You know, like Kai Havertz has actually been in really good form this season, and he's played well, and he's having a great season. So look, I think over the next year or so, or I'd say over the next 6 months, Arsenal need to sign a big player in terms of the centre forward. Mathys Tel, looks like he's going to be, plays off the left. He's young and he's going to want to prove himself. Maybe, he wouldn't even start at Arsenal. So they'll probably look at it and think, do we need that player right now? And then maybe that's not the case.
Where do you stand on Kai Havertz and the implications that got for whether they need incomings? Because until he got the goal yesterday, he was looking like a striker who was very, very short of confidence, to put it kindly.
Yeah, no, I would say I agree with Jamie. I remember being at the North London derby not so long ago, and I'm watching Arsenal playing this free-flowing football, which we all know them for. But they are missing in that out-and-out nine. I know their goals come across the whole team, right? But they don't have a top striker who's banging in goals week in, week out. Havertz gets his goal. He scored at the weekend against a great result against Manchester City. Brilliant player. But if you're looking at, I was watching balls getting in the box, and he's just that 2-3 yards away from it. He's not an instinctive striker that I think what we see in Haaland or other top strikers in the Premier League. And I think that's why, Mikel Arteta has made it pretty obvious from the start of this window that he's been on the hunt, and that's what he's been looking for. And I think it'll go down to the wire with who they bring in.
Yeah, he got very prickly when we talked about his need for a striker. He didn't like that phrase. He got O'Hara type prickly. I just want to show you a league table, which is the positions in the league, but also each team's top goal scorer as well. And you have to go a long, long way down the league before you find a team where the top scorer is at Arsenal.
Yeah, but I think Jen makes a really good point. Arsenal.
That's why she's here.
Yeah, it's true. Like, their goals of the whole team. And they don't have, you look at Newcastle, you go Isak, Man City, you go Haaland and Liverpool, Salah. But Arsenal do play a different way. It is about everyone creating chances for each other. And I think Havertz lacks a little bit of belief. When he passed it back for Odegaard yesterday, when he pulls it back, there's no way Salah's doing that. There's no way Haaland's doing that. They're putting that in the back of net for themselves, and they're taking a chance. They're not going to pull it back for Odegaard to tap him for himself. It's just not going to happen. So I think he has a little bit of... He doesn't have that ruthless streak that strikers have got. I always remember Jermaine Defoe. He was ruthless. He'd never pass it to you. If he had a chance to have a shot from anywhere, even if it wasn't on, he'd shoot. But that's why they scored so many goals, because that was their nature. And I think Kai Havertz is a bit like Ozil in a way, where he'd rather set you up and get an assist and have a goal contribution. Strikers don't think about goal contributions, they think about goals. And that's all that matters to them. But Arsenal, they've all chipped in with goals this season. So I think he's done well, Havertz. And I can see why Arteta gets the hump with it a little bit. We all sit here and say they should have that player, they should get that player. But I think Arteta is probably quite happy with what they're doing right now.
It comes down to depth, right, isn't it? Like Gabriel Jesus being out injured, Saka, huge injury blow as well. When you've got players like that missing, if you're looking at a club like Arsenal that want to chase the Premier League and want to be winning trophies, you have big injuries like that in your forward line. you're bringing in a striker.
You have to have the squad. At Manchester United, Marcus Rashford hasn't even been in the squad this season. And Paul Merson said a little bit earlier on our deadline day coverage on Sky Sports News that Ruben Amorim's job is on the line. If Marcus No. Let me finish. If Marcus Rashford's a success at Villa, if he gets, let's say, 9-10 goals between now and the end of the season, which he's got the ability to do, doesn't Amorim look dangerously embarrassed?
I think Marcus Rashford could embarrass Manchester United, absolutely, and Amorim, because Amorim took a stance on him. You know, I think Rashford's attitude in training, you know, was a telltale sign that he wanted away. I don't blame everything on Amorim. You know, if he's got a player there who doesn't really want to be involved, he's coming out saying he wants to leave. What choice does he have? I think Manchester United wanted him off the wage bill as well. You know, I think they wanted him to move on, and I think he maybe needed a fresh start. Let's see what Marcus Rashford does. But let me tell you, Manchester United are in disarray. I mean, their forward line is championship level. It's nowhere near good enough. You know, they have not performed. Xerxes should not have a Manchester United shirt on. Ahmad has been the only bright spark this season for them. Garnacho's been poor. He looks like his head's going the other way. And Højlund doesn't look like he can hit a barn door. So, for me, they've let their best striker go. So if they don't get, if Aston Villa get the best out of it, and I think they will, because Unai Emery is a top manager, they could be left with egg on their face massively, Man United.
If they don't bring anybody in today, what do you make of Manchester United's transfer window this January?
Confusing, to say the least. I think, especially Amorim's been so vocal as well about not having the players, right? I've seen that a lot in the media of what he's saying in his press conferences, and for him to not take this opportunity of kind of not bringing in the players he really wants and letting go of one of Manchester United's top strikers, regardless of form or training ability or attitude in that. I think it would be a confusing one for the fans to see if they don't bring in sort of more quality in that area, especially in the forward line, like Jamie's spot on with how their forward line looks and performances, and look at a 2-0 defeat against Crystal Palace. You'll have every fan watching Deadline Day waiting for see who they'll bring in.
Is there a counter-argument to say it's an awful window to do business in for the most part? It's very rare to get a really good January.
Well, to get a striker.
There's been one. To get a striker is really hard.
Yeah.
They're not going to get anywhere near honours this season. They're not going to go down. Is there an argument to say, which is really what they're doing, we wait for the summer and we try and get better value in the summer?
Yeah, that's all right for Ratcliffe to say, but what about the manager? You know, he must be sitting there pulling his hair out. He's left Sporting Lisbon where he's guaranteed to win, and he's come to a club and they're saying, oh, you know, we'll wait till the summer. If I'm the manager and I'm the players, I'd be saying, hold on, we need some help here. You know, you've brought me in to play a formation. You said I had to leave Sporting Lisbon, it was now or never, and then you're not going to help me out when I need help. Like, you know, he's damaging his reputation. He's damaging his credit in the bank that he's got with the fans. Every single week that they get beat at home, and the system that they play, they haven't got the players for. And the attacking players that they've got haven't performed, and they're not good enough to be a Man United player. So it's all right saying, yeah, we'll wait till the summer. Well, you can't wait till the summer, because by that point, the fans have turned. And he could be on his way out. So I would be demanding players now. I'd be knocking on the door saying, you brought me in, I need players. You've got to get some over the line.
First question definitely goes next time to Jen, otherwise it'll be the O'Hara shout. We don't want that. We've been talking Manchester United. We're going to talk Manchester City in a second. Terrible day for them at the Emirates yesterday, but they're moving closer to a deal for Porto midfielder Nico Gonzalez. What's the latest? We're live at their training ground next. Look at that.
Thanks,
Thank
Capri.
you. Cheers, Capri. Should we send you a...
Yeah, send them across, mate. Great, thank you.
No worries.
Welcome back to Sky Sports News on deadline day. No doubt the big breaking news of the hour is that the deal between Tottenham and Mathys Tel looks to have progressed, Teddy, quite dramatically in the last 15 minutes or so, hasn't it?
It has, absolutely so. Let's go back to the Tottenham training ground where Michael Bridge awaits us and understand, Michael, you've got some fresh information on why Tel changed his mind about a move to North London.
Yeah, what an unbelievable story this is turning out to be. Remember Friday in Battersea, we said our information was that Mathys Tel said, thank you for the offer, but no thank you, I want to stay at Bayern Munich. Then we had talk all the weekend about whether he was going to move or not. Then our colleague Florian was talking about maybe he was going to stay in Germany. And then all of a sudden, wow, that photo of his agent, but where's the destination? The destination, London City Airport, London Stansted, who knows? But all Spurs fans probably think, who cares? All they care about is where he ends up, and it looks like Tottenham Hotspur. Now, my understanding is Ange Postecoglou had a long conversation with Tel on how they will use him. The player liked what he heard and has changed his mind. It's very similar to when James Maddison joined Spurs the other summer, and he said that it was just a conversation they had. He was umming and ahhing between a few clubs, and he sat down with him. So, look, Spurs might not be doing great in the table at the moment, but there's a lot to play for. And of course, well, whoever's doing the press conference here on Wednesday, they can look forward to asking Ange Postecoglou, what did you say? I'm sure in that conversation there was mate. And before I go, there's definitely an understanding that there is no way Jamie O'Hara needs those glasses.
Thank you, Michael. We'll pass it on. He's listening.
Well, let's talk about that line that it's a long chat with Ange Postecoglou that has changed his mind. Have you experienced that, a manager who can be that persuasive?
Yeah, I think it's big, and it's probably something that's, you know, underestimated in football when you're thinking about a club or thinking about the potential style of football that a club might play. But ultimately, when you speak to coaches and when you speak to managers as player and you get a good feeling, that can sometimes be the selling point. Don't like put money to the side for a second. It's a feeling that you get from a coach or a manager if they really trust in you, they know your game. And you know, I'm Scottish. I know his stories from his Celtic days, and the kind of motivational speaker that he gives in those kind of deliveries are further unbelievable. So I can totally believe that. But 100% from a personal perspective, having spoken to certain managers before signing, that ultimately is a feeling you get when you're talking to the club and knowing the ambition they have or the trust that you can get from even just one conversation, honestly, because these things happen fast, but it can happen quickly within that one conversation. You can have your mind swayed.
Who was the most persuasive manager you dealt with?
Well, most of the managers trying to persuade me to leave. Weren't trying to persuade me to sign. But yeah, no, look, Jen's absolutely right. You know, you sit down and have that conversation. It's got to that point where Ange has, you know, got on the phone and had a good conversation with him, and you know, obviously, you know, he said, look, what he can offer him is say, look, you're going to be fantastic facilities, fantastic football stadium, and we're going to play decent football. You know that because that's the facts at Spurs. You know, so it hasn't been good at the moment with the results, but he still believes in the project, Ange Postecoglou, and you know, he's still going to be positive about bringing the players in that he wants, and you know, it could be exciting times for him. It's a good opportunity.
And presumably, this all tells us that Daniel Levy, talking of belief, still believes in Ange Postecoglou, because this wouldn't be happening unless they think that Postecoglou is there. So for the, you know, at least the medium term.
No, for sure. I think, you know, if he's the one having those big conversations at a really crucial time for the club, then absolutely, Daniel Levy is 100% still putting his trust in Postecoglou, and I think that speaks volumes when things like that in the media are coming out of those conversations being that important to get a deal over the line. That kind of speaks volumes.
Yeah, that's massive.
Jen Beattie and Jamie O'Hara with us on deadline day. More from them throughout the next couple of hours.
Well, the other big developing story you've had this hour has come from Manchester City. Ben Ransom is there for us. Ben, they're closing in on their midfield target of Nico Gonzalez. They're closing in. How close?
Yeah, it feels like this one is now moving in the right direction. We told you earlier that the clubs were talking again this morning to try and come to an agreement on the fee. That's been the big sticking point. Porto have been holding out for the full €60 million. That's around £50 million release clause. City didn't want to pay that. They've been talking today. Well, I'm told they're now moving towards an agreement. It's not confirmed yet. It's not completely agreed, but it is heading that way, which sounds like there's been a breakthrough between the clubs. Now, whether it is the fee, whether it's the structure of the fee, we've been speaking earlier, if you remember, about how Barcelona having a sell-on clause from his move from Barca to Porto being a factor in this as well. We know Barcelona's financial issues well documented. You can imagine they'd want to get as much money as they can out of this deal up front. We also told you about how Porto holds some cards in the sense that they can reduce the 40% sell-on fee to 20% with a €6 million payment. So there's been lots of maths and calculations, I'm sure, going on between the clubs, between all three of those clubs behind the scenes. But certainly it sounds as though this move is now getting closer. Personal terms for the midfielder not thought to be an issue. Now, he's a really interesting one in the sense that this is a player that Manchester City have scouted for as long as Pep Guardiola's been here. His dad, Fran Gonzalez, used to play for Deportivo La Coruña. He was actually an employee of the academy here some 6 or 7 years ago. That's how long they've looked at this player. They tried to sign him twice as a schoolboy. Perhaps now, at the age of 23, Manchester City may get their hands on Nico Gonzalez.
Ben, thank you.
Promise you to keep you in touch with developments about Mathys Tel minute by minute. We've just heard that he has landed, the Bayern Munich forward, at Farnborough Airport in Hampshire. Not a very long drive to London, a very popular airport for elite sports people to use. Jamie O'Hara is nodding as though he's an elite sports person as well. But that is what is, no one doubts it, but that is what has happened. So he is in England. You've heard it here. We're going to keep you in touch minute by minute on the Mathys Tel move to Tottenham, which we heard about this hour.
Of course, for Chelsea and West Ham, not just deadline day to focus on. They're playing the Monday Night Football live on Sky Sports Premier League. Our chief reporter, Kaveh Solokol, is at Stamford Bridge. Kaveh, afternoon. Are Chelsea doing any business on deadline day?
Well, interestingly, they were one of the clubs who were after Mathys Tel. I think the first time we heard his name being mentioned this window was about Chelsea monitoring him. Now, the airport he's just landed at, Farnborough, is not very far from Chelsea's training ground in Cobham. But unfortunately, as far as Chelsea supporters are concerned, we have no information whatsoever that Chelsea have made a late move for Mathys Tel. The news really coming out of Stamford Bridge today is about players leaving. The biggest name, I think, who will be on his way is João Felix. Now, the player wants to move on loan. He wants to go to AC Milan. There are reports in Italy that he was actually at the Milan-Inter game last night. And Sky Italy, just in the last few minutes, are reporting that a deal has been agreed in principle for him to move on loan from Chelsea to Milan. Interestingly, his agent is Jorge Mendes, same agent as the agent of the Milan manager Sergio Conceição. Other outgoings today, Carney Chukwuemeka, he's in Dortmund, he's having his medical, he's moving to Borussia Dortmund on loan. They have an option to buy him for around £40 million in the summer. And finally, Ben Chilwell, he's very close to completing his loan move to Crystal Palace for the rest of the season.
Yep, good to see Chilwell playing again, hopefully. Kaveh, thank you for now. Tel on his way to Spurs, and in another loan move, Marcus Rashford has joined Aston Villa. We'll be live to Villa Park next.
To do some more business today after bringing in Manchester United forward Marcus Rashford. Let's get to Kirsty Edwards, who's at Villa Park for us. Kirsty, very good afternoon to you. We reported yesterday that a move for Marco Asensio was close. What a front line Aston Villa could end up with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that deal may be helped by another deal that's happening. Fabrizio Romano has actually pointed out that Sherender's move to Fiorentina is freeing up a loan spot for PSG. So that could really help with Villa getting this deal for Marco Asensio over the line. He brings a wealth of experience if he does come. Of course, 3 times Champions League winner with Real Madrid. When he left Real Madrid in 2023, Unai Emery actually wanted to sign him then for Villa, but he opted for PSG, not been getting the game time that he has wanted this season, though. So very much available to Villa and very much looking like he will finally be their man. A player that essentially we'll see out on the right all through the middle, predominantly left-footed, and as you say, will join Marcus Rashford and also Daniel Marlon, who they signed earlier in the window. So yeah, that is looking exciting stuff up front. In terms of defensively, will they have time to get anything over the line? In that respect, a centre-back was needed. The fans were certainly calling for another centre-back because they are short in that respect at the moment because of injuries. But at the moment, all quiet on that front.
OK, thanks, Kirsty. Lots of attacking options, though, as you say. What about Marcus Rashford's shirt number? What is it?
Yes, well, it's actually going to take some getting used to, isn't it, seeing Marcus Rashford in anything but a Manchester United shirt. But yeah, he'll have a new number as well. Number 9 he will be for Aston Villa. That shirt becomes available because of John Duran's departure. So yeah, Villa's new number 9 is Marcus Rashford, and he's been giving his first interview since joining the club as well.
Definitely excited. You know, it's an ambition for this club and a great opportunity for me to join for this club and the team. A great opportunity for me to join forward. So I'm excited. Can't wait for the first training session and obviously the first game. The first training session.
Although you're here on loan, this is the first time you've known the likes of Tyrone Mings, Ezri Konsa, Ross Barkley, Ollie Tyrone Mings, Ez Watkins from the England squad to help you settle in there.
Definitely. Like you said, it's obviously my first time playing for any other team, so you don't really know what to any other team. So expect, but I've not really been scared of coming into a new. I've not really been scared environment. Coming into a new. With them lads being there, it's definitely good.
Why Aston Villa?
I think they're a club that's in a good position in the league and they're pushing to get higher. Still in the Champions League. Still in the Champions. Good manager, ambitious manager, great talent in the squad, and I've had in the squad to choose like my style of football is suited to and can help me rediscover and improve as a player. Obviously, it's only short term that I'm here as a player. Obviously, I want to make the most of my time here, and yeah, the only way to do that is by using my attributes. Yeah, the only way to do that is by.
So, Marcus Rashford done. Marco Asensio potentially edging closer. Watch this space.
We will do, Kirsty. Thank you very much.
Well, let's discuss that space with my guests, Jen Beattie and Jamie O'Hara, who spent many a soccer Sunday talking about Marcus Rashford in a fairly negative sense. But here's a chance to be positive about him. And as Kirsty was alluding to, lots of attacking options for Villa now.
Yeah, I have to say, as a Spurs fan, I'm jealous that the business that they're doing, and the players that they're attracting now to the football club. You're talking about Marcus Rashford, a top player who's been a top player international at Manchester United. Being able to get that over the line. You're talking about Asensio coming in, who for me I think has been a really good player. Loved him at Real Madrid. Picked up a bad injury. If they can get that over the line, again another really good deal. So it is really well done from Aston Villa.
OK, hold that thought. I want to bring you some more on Mathys Tel, who's been the main topic of conversation since the news that broke just after 2 o'clock here on Sky Sports News on deadline day. Amazing about turn. Mathys Tel on his way to England this afternoon. He's landed at Farnborough Airport in Hampshire, which Jamie tells me is a sure sign that he's going to Tottenham. But we know that already because Sky's Florian Plettenberg broke that story in Germany, and there he is live in our studios in Munich. Guten Tag, grüß Gott. There is Florian. What are the details as you have them right now?
Servus, mein Freund aus München. That means servus from Munich, my friend. And first of all, I haven't broken anything. We have broken it in a Sky team, and my heart is broken because I'm feeling that I'm getting 37 years old. So busy day, yeah. My heart attack is near. As you have said, we have exclusively revealed the massive turnaround for Mathys Tel. Let's go back 2 or 3 days. Daniel Levy, he has been in Munich. He has spoken to Mathys Tel and to his agent Gadiri Kamara. And after a while, Mathys Tel came back to the table and he said, sorry, Mr. Levy, I will not join Tottenham. I don't feel the project. This is not the right step for me. Okay, Daniel Levy said sorry for that. He was flying back home to London without Mathys Tel. Then there have been the negotiations between Manchester United about a loan deal with FC Bayern. The negotiations have been off last night. And now the massive turnaround. Mathys Tel has reached an agreement with Tottenham about a loan deal. And he has already arrived now in London to undergo his medical with Tottenham. To our information, it's a straight loan until the end of the season with no obligation, with no option to buy. It's a straight loan in order to get gain and match practice. And honestly, I think this is a very good solution for Mathys Tel, for Tottenham and for FC Bayern.
We've got about 30 seconds left. Florian, why did he change his mind? Why is he after all coming to Tottenham?
Honestly, I think that he has reconsidered his decision, and he was in talks with Arsenal, with Chelsea, with Tottenham. And I'm totally convinced that in the end, Spurs have presented the best project in order to get match practice. And this is the most important for striker Mathys Tel. Now it's up to Postecoglou to place him in the right position. He's not a winger. Tottenham, please, he's not a winger. He's a striker. Let him strike, let him score goals.
Brilliant, Florian, thank you.
Just time to tell you more breaking news. AC Milan close to agreeing a loan deal for Chelsea's João Felix. Milan have held an interest in Felix throughout this transfer window.
Yeah, Portugal international, 1 Premier League goal this season, is said to be in Italy. Was watching the Milan derby yesterday at the San Siro. Sky Italy report Chelsea are only open to a loan with an obligation to buy. We'll update you next on all the latest deals here on Deadline Day.